Welcome back to Ritual Hobby and Art. Today we're going to look at the Harris Explorer Worldwide Postage Stamp Album, which is what I had growing up. This was probably my first real hobby. My dad gave me this book. It's, I think, copyright 1981, so it had been the early 80s to get me interested in stamp collecting, which I did for several years. If you had seen my video on the first day covers, those are some of the, that's kind of what came out of this original book. I actually have two stamp albums. I have this one, and then I have another notebook that has filler pages in it for extension for other things. But this was the original. Stock number H107. So let's take a look inside the Harris Explorer stamp album. So inside the inside cover, The Wonderful World of Stamps, information about the fun and exciting hobby of stamp collecting, which probably was a lot more popular in the 20th century. I don't know how it does now in the 21st century when so many of the stamps are stickers or have adhesive. When I was doing this, it was still the kind that you licked. I suppose you could still do it. You could still cut it out and put it through the water. Here's some tongs. This is probably the only thing I have left from my stamp collecting days are these tongs, which you can buy easily in hobby stores for other uses as well. And I've used these in conservation as well as hobby craft building, all that kind of thing. So this is the title page, and I'm just going to go through this kind of quickly. We have a lot of stamps in here, a lot of ground to cover. First country was Afghanistan, Albania, Algeria, Andorra, and Argentina. Most of these stamps I have are from Argentina. There's some Argentina stamps down at the bottom. Australia, as you can imagine, probably is a better chance of getting. Now, I will say, any of the stamps I had probably came from a stamp. You could get like grab bags of stamps. You could get like an envelope full of stamps from the world. I didn't get probably any of these from a letter. I did have some pen pals, international pen pals when I was younger, but the stamps on their envelopes are still on the envelopes because I still have them along with the letters. So I didn't take any off. So any of these Australian stamps probably would have come from a grab bag or I purchased them specifically. And then we have Austria, Bahrain, Bangladesh, Belgium, Belize, Bhutan, Bolivia, Botswana, and Brazil. And so I think most of these are actually, well, they have a bunch of Bangladesh ones, but we do have some Brazilian down here at the bottom. Bulgaria, not many, not many to show there. In fact, I have Bhutan here, and I'm not sure what that one is. If you had seen the video on Flags of the World, just sort of see where I'm coming from. Burma, Burundi, and Cambodia, I don't have any stamps for those countries. Canada, you would think I would have more than this. This is all I got for Canada. So, you know, they would have pictures. So they have pictures down here, and then you probably have the stamp that goes with the picture, although this one's blank, I think. Yeah, there's nothing there. Here, this is an example of what's in the picture is what's on the stamp. And I'm using these hinges, sort of what are they, cellophane or sort of a rice paper. I can't remember what those hinges were made of, but you would use a hinge to attach it to the book so that they could be removed in the future. So it is a reversible type of arrangement, so you're not damaging the stamp. And anyone who is a stamp collector knows that. I assume they're still doing that today. So more Canada, including Newfoundland, which I guess had separate stamps. I don't know about that. Canal Zone, I assume that's, I don't know what the Canal Zone is, if that's in Panama or somewhere else. Ceylon and Chile. So we have some Chile stamps there. Remember, this is the 1980s, so some of these countries may not exist anymore, especially when we get to the African nations. China, don't have that many from China. It's kind of surprising, but we do not. Colombia, Congo. I don't think the Congo is there. We still have Congo, but it's not the same. Costa Rica, Cuba, and Cyprus. Here's a Bolivia stamp. And here's a Congo stamp. Another Congo, Republic du Congo. So we have some from a Congo of what appears to me to be viperfish. It's kind of interesting. Or dragonfish. Okay, here's one. Czechoslovakia. Czechoslovakia does not exist anymore. It's now the Czech Republic. Slovakia had separated. And so, but we had a bunch from Czechoslovakia. Then Denmark, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Egypt, Equatorial Guinea, and Ethiopia. And it includes the Faroe Islands and Greenland. And I didn't know Greenland had stamps. But I bet you I have one somewhere just to have had one. But these all look like they're from Denmark. Doesn't look like I have anything else. Finland, France. I don't have that many. Oh, the France. All my French ones are here. And I think I have more in the additional book. There's a Finland stamp up here, and that's what these are as well. French community and former French colonies, like Mali. That's in Africa. Niger, Martinique, Cameroon. Spelled differently, but I believe that's Cameroon. So these are African nations that are former French colonies. I think this is something in the South Pacific. Another Niger and Mali. So Germany. Now back then it would have been East and West. It's showing, so some of these would have been, the the Bundepost, Deutschmarks. It's showing as one nation, but I know it was two. It was definitely two nations back then. So very old. And my other album has much more Germany stamps. Great Britain, including Guernsey, Isle of Man, and Jersey. There's the Queen. I think 80th birthday, that would have been the Queen Mother back then. And then all these with the queens, and then the older ones with the former king. British Commonwealth and former British colonies. So we have the Bahamas, St. Lucia, Dominica, Antigua, Grenada. We have a bunch of those type of things. More of British Commonwealth, Grenada. Several Grenadian stamps. They were very colorful and had wonderful illustrations. And so I really liked getting them because they had modern airplanes and, sports, space travel, and the Iwo Jima Memorial. So that's St. Vincent. Then we've got Ghana, Greece, Guatemala, Guinea, Guinea-Bissau, Guyana, Haiti, and Honduras. And so some Guyana stamps and some others. I'm going to assume that's Greece because it looks like it's in Greek. But Hungary, a bunch of them from Hungary. I think the other album has more from Hungary. Another one with very colorful stamps, very colorful illustrations. If you had a stamp that said Magyar Posta, it meant it was from Hungary. Iceland, India, including Nepal, Indonesia, Iran, Persia, and Iraq. I bet India would not want to be included with Nepal, or Nepal included with India. That would be two separate nations now. So some of these are India. We have several India. I believe this one is Iraq. It's one of Iran. I think that's the Shah, the one that was there until 1973. We have Ireland and Israel. We don't have that many Irish stamps. This is an Israel stamp. This is an Israel stamp. You could tell the Israeli stamps because they have Hebrew on them. Now this is the Republic of Iraq, and here's an Ireland one, a couple of Ireland stamps. Obviously, if it's got the country on it, that's going to be Ireland. Italy, colonies, Italian East Africa, and Somalia. So most of these look to be Italian. I don't know if we have specific for the colonies. I think it's just Italian stamps. Japan, including some islands that I will not try to pronounce incorrectly here. Let's see, with a lot of the Japanese ones, they would say Nippon on it. And I knew that Nippon meant Japan. In fact, there's a note at the back of the book that says Nippon means Japan. So we got not much Japan. Jordan, Yugoslavia. Okay, that would have been Yugoslavia, but with a J, I guess. Korea, Kuwait, Laos, Lebanon, and Liberia. We've got some very colorful Liberian stamps here at the bottom. Otherwise, we have Korean. I see the Korean stamps there. And Yugoslavia. It's got some right there. I don't remember it being called that, but there it is. Liberia. We've got one Liberian stamp right here. Libya, Liechtenstein, Luxembourg, Malaya, Malaysia, Malay States, Maldive Islands, Mexico, Monaco, Morocco. That's a lot of stuff on one page. We've got some Malaysia down here at the bottom. Maldives. And Maldives. There is space for Monaco, but I don't see any. See some Morocco's right here. I assume Morocco is Morocco's. Here's Simon Bolivar, Mexico. I don't have a lot for that. Monaco with a famous picture of George Washington on it up here at the top. Mongolia. Mongolia's got some really colorful stamps here. I really enjoyed, especially this series here, the early firefighting. If you remember, I did some firefighting in my early days, and of course this would have been before, this collecting was before I became a firefighter, but a lot of it led up to it. So I always enjoyed that set. The Netherlands, colonies, North Antilles, North Indies, North New Guinea, and Suriname. Well, I think this is all the Netherlands. I don't see much of anything else. New Zealand. And we got the Kiwi. And we got Papua New Guinea. I'm not sure why that's here, but there it is. Maybe it's from this page or something. New Hebrides. I've never been able to pronounce this. New Hebrides, Nicaragua, Norway, Pakistan, Palestine, and Panama. So we got some Pakistans down here. Nicaragua, a colorful one of a choir. And Nicaragua there. So Nicaragua has several of these colorful stamps. And then Pakistan, that's this group here. I don't see anything from Palestine or... we gotta have some here. The Norge. Norge is Norway. So we have those. I don't think I have anything from New Hebrides. Panama, Papua New Guinea, Paraguay, Peru, and the Philippines. Well, we do have stuff from the Philippines and Panama. So Philippines and Panama is pretty much what is shown here. I think there's a Peru. There's one from Peru. Poland, more colorful stamps. Lots of color and good graphics. More Poland. Some creatures, inventions. Portugal and colonies, Angola, Cape Verde, Macao, Mozambique, Guinea, India, St. Thomas and Prince Islands, Timor, and Qatar. So I definitely have some Qatar. I always like that country's name. Sometimes I hear it called Qatar. Sometimes I hear it called Qatar. I prefer Qatar. I think that's probably the correct pronunciation, but correct me if I'm wrong. Got some Portugal up here and Angola. There's another Angola. And it says, that's where Angola goes. So, some interesting stamps there. Romania. I have some Romanian stamps on this side and on the other. More colorful graphics. Some animals, an airplane. So, there's a helicopter. Russia. So, it goes by Russia, not the Union of Soviet Socialist Republic. That was its name in the 80s, but they put it down as Russia. So we've got a couple stamps from Russia. I mean, CCCP is definitely the Soviet Union. And so I don't have a lot. We just didn't have that many of those in those days. Russia. So this is Russia and Rwanda. Obviously, I put pretty much just Rwanda up there. Colorful stamps. Some good graphics. SAAR, Salvador, San Marino, Saudi Arabia, South Africa, Southwest Africa. I don't know what SAAR is. I don't know what South Arabia is. South Sudan is too new to even be in this book because that was much later when that became a country. So we have something like Marino here. San Marino, RSA, I believe was, I don't remember what that was. So we have some stamps we can't really remember. So this is the RSA. We've got South Africa. Some interesting stuff. Spain, colonies, Fernando Po, Ifani, Rio Muni, Spanish Guinea, Spanish Morocco, Spanish Sahara, Spanish West Africa, Sri Lanka, and Sudan. España. Whenever you see España, that is Spain. So that most of these stamps are going to be España. And then we have Sweden, Switzerland, and Syria. Helvetia is, I guess that's going to be Switzerland. All these stamps say Helvetia on them. We do have Sverige. That must be Sweden. And I don't have anything from Syria. Thailand, Togo, and Tonga. Thailand, also Siam. The main thing I have here is the Tonga banana. That was a big deal. There is actually a picture for this underneath of it. The Tonga banana is, to me, the weirdest, not the weirdest, the most unique stamp shape there ever was. And so I just peeled it off of its backing and stuck it in my book. And my dad said, no, you should have used a hinge. You should have kept it in its actual, so the backing that it was attached to, you should have attached a hinge to that and put that in here. Now this thing is kind of useless. And he's, obviously he's right. It's been on here long enough, it'll probably peel off easily, but I'm not trying to do that. So that's the Tonga banana. I also have this Togo stamp as well. Looks like a Boy Scouts type thing. Tunisia, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, which includes a bunch of places, including Dubai, Abu Dhabi, some other words I'm not going to try to pronounce, and the United Nations. So what we have here are mainly stamps from possibly none of those places. There's a United Nations stamp right here. That is for sure. These over here, I'm not really quite sure what those were once upon a time. I mean, they could be one of these UAR. So that's going to be, well, that's not the United Arab Emirates. Not sure what that is. So, yeah, it's a lot of stamps here. And the United States. Is it any wonder that I have more stamps from the United States than any other country in this book? Well, it's very simple. Grab bags of United States stamps would have been easy to acquire, as well as getting stamps directly off of letters in the mail. And so just a lot of different Remember when stamps were 8 cents? Or let's see, we have 8, 10, 8, 6, of course, 2 and 4 cent stamps. That's long before my time, but I remember stamps. Okay, that's a special, this is a special $1 stamp. I remember when this Christmas stamp was out. I remember stamps being, what were they when I was young? I want to say 20 cents. It seems a little much, but somewhere in here we'll see a stamp that I recall from my childhood. Most of these are from the 60s and 50s, 40s. Just a lot of, when they were doing a lot of stamps on specific topics. I think I remember this Christmas stamp. That's a 6 cent censor, so that would not be from my time period. And the other book has a lot of United States stamps as well. So more Christmas stamps. Just kind of looking over these real quick. So we have, more of these things, these individual presidents. Yeah, I remember the Harry S. Truman. That's a 20-cent stamp. I definitely remember this guy, the Oliver Wendell Holmes stamp, 15 cent. I absolutely remember that. And some of these others as well. Uruguay, Vatican, Venezuela, Vietnam, Yemen, and Zaire. Well, we got Uruguay. Yeah, these are mostly all from Uruguay. So that's the bulk of the stamps, and then you get into flags of the world. I believe this book came with all these flags, on a sheet, perforated. You peeled them off, and you licked them, and you put them in. So it would have had all of the flags originally. I can tell some of these, probably the flags fell off. If you saw my flag video, I have Brazil, Japan. Some of these things I have as a flag in my collection. Of course, the United States. And then there's more on the other side. Canada. These are ones from my collection that I have a flag of. Israel. And, they don't have Nepal. Because Nepal has such a different shaped flag. And these are all different flags at the time in the 1980s. Mexico, I guess. Well, you can't fit all the flags. Here's Qatar. I don't have that one. I wanted it, but there was never any way to get it. They didn't sell. Some of the flags from the Middle East were not available at the flag store when I bought my flags. I would have gotten Qatar, I would have gotten Saudi Arabia, and some of those others, maybe Iraq. Were just interesting flags. And then, of course, coat of arms of the world, and that's a whole bunch of things there. There's more of those on the back. And, of course, they all mean things to the countries that they're for. There are helpful hints from Harris. So how to mount your stamps in the album, how to soak stamps. And, of course, soaking was to remove your stamp from the envelope. You would cut out, you'd get a piece of mail and you'd cut out the stamp, attach to the paper, stick it in a bowl of water, and the stamp would detach. The glue would break down and it would detach. You could put them in a book to flatten them. We usually just laid them out on paper towels, let them dry, and kind of worked from there. And then, you have your special offers like 101 stamps for only 10 cents, like the Tonga banana. You could get the free mystery coin. There's a Harris International Society you could join for whatever. There was a stamp identifier of kind of showing what some of the terms meant. Index of countries. Here's, index of countries. And a map of the world in 1980. So it does show Russia, Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. It shows, all these countries in Asia, Australia, Pacifica. You know, Pacifica is, or Oceania is never really considered a part of the world, or, you know, not really considered on the map because it's hard to stick it anywhere. Hawaii is way over here. So, they, you know, all these kind of, the map of Europe is kind of covering some of them up. Africa, some of these African nations may not exist anymore. And there's some there now that would not be on here. Although it does show Lesotho and Swaziland, which those two have. I think Lesotho still has its name, but Swaziland is called something completely different because I have both of their flags. And that was covered in the flag video. So that's the Harris Explorer Worldwide Postage Stamp album that I had as a kid, and the various stamps contained within. Thanks for watching.